It was on December 17th, 2009, around 9 o'clock. The epicenter was located in the town of Auburn, and it was felt as far away as Missouri, according to the U.S. Geological Survey. It was a 3.5 magnitude earthquake that occurred just before 9 p.m. Similar to the past earthquakes in Nebraska, this one did minor damage to buildings. Some of the damage reported was plaster damage, cracks in house foundations, and items falling. Within 12 hours, almost 300 people reported the earthquake, according to the USGS.
Had some bricks fall, some structures cracked. Had a couple of houses here that were moved about an inch, inch and a quarter off their foundation.
Rumbling damaged several buildings. One had to be taped off because of structural damage.
They had both had damages in their house. All the mounts fell off the wall, cracks in the drywall.
As people reacted.
I was just sitting at my desk and the chair started rocking and
the couch started going like this. And my mom's in her chair and she's going back and forth and we're all looking at each other.
A recent string of mysterious earthquakes may have been caused by pumping these chemicals into the ground as part of this process known as hydraulic fracturing or fracking.
Hydraulic fracturing, or fracking, is the process of injecting fluid, mostly water and sand, but with additional chemicals, into the ground at a high pressure to fracture shale rocks and release the crude oil and natural gas inside. While fracking has not determined any of the earthquakes in Nebraska, it is well known that it caused earthquakes in Oklahoma in recent years. Earthquakes from the state can be felt as far away as Nebraska. This has concerned people and has caused them to ask questions like, how does this impact our environment? Luckily for the people of Nebraska, they do not have to fear or worry about the fracking taking place in their state. While there is some oil and natural gas activity occurring in Nebraska, an oil and natural gas boom brought on by fracking is not happening and is not expected to happen. The Nebraska Oil and Gas Conservation Commission has over 20,000 registered wells. Despite this, very little fracking is occurring in the state. In January 2013, however, Senator Norman Wallman introduced Legislative Bill 635 that would have required oil and gas companies to submit reports regarding the water used in their fracking operations. Companies would have been required to report how much water was used, where the water came from, and how much fracturing fluid was recovered. As of March 17, 2014, this bill has been indefinitely postponed. When it comes to earthquakes and how they relate to a state's or country's economy, it can get a little complicated. There are so many factors to consider when trying to plan for an earthquake in the first place. Let's say Nebraska had a massive earthquake at its fault line. This disaster could set off a chain of events that leads to an even bigger disaster or a nuclear disaster. We have seen in some countries like Japan just what can happen if a nuclear power plant loses its ability to cool itself. Not only would the state have a catastrophe on its hands, it would also feel the effects from it both physically and economically for years, if not generations. Now, of course, this is just a long shot, and the chances of this happening are slim to none, but just thinking about it should jolt people in charge to think about the future.
Your level of personal preparedness will determine your quality of life after the quake. It's a good idea to have a fire extinguisher, a first aid kit, and enough water for each person in your household to have at least 1 gallon of water a day for 3 days. Have an emergency plan. Decide now where you will meet your family after an earthquake. Make sure there's a person out of town you can contact to let your loved ones know that you're okay. Homeowners should be sure to bolt their house to its foundation. Consider whether earthquake insurance makes sense for you as part of your financial plan. Even if you're not a homeowner, you can secure your personal possessions against earthquake damage. Preparedness is not only for the home but also for business. Be sure that your company has emergency plans for a major earthquake. Empower yourself and your family. Be prepared.